good morning. Here starts the tutorial on my oatmeal bread making. Now, the reason that you don't see my face is because it's Sunday morning and I didn't feel like getting ready. Actually, it's Sunday afternoon, 12:50. So the first thing we do is I already got my hot water here, and it is about 105 degrees, just warm to your hands, because you do want the yeast to work. And you don't really have to do this anymore, but my mom did it, so I do it. So what I do is I have my 5 cups of warm water, and I'm going to put in 1 tablespoon of active dry yeast. So we'll sprinkle that over here. Then what we're going to do is our brown sugar, because the sugar makes the yeast activate. The yeast starts to eat on the sugar, and so it just helps things to happen more quickly. We will be doing 1/3 of a cup, let's see, 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar in our water. And I do it lightly packed. I don't like totally pack it down. So we'll stick that in there. And then let me get my whisk, and we'll whisk it all together. I'll put my oil in a little bit later. And then once this is foamy and starting to raise, and you'll see what I mean a little bit later, then it's ready to add to the rest of your mixture, which is what we're going to put together now. So while the yeast is starting to activate and work, we'll work with the rest of our ingredients here. So in my mixer, I forgot my oatmeal. In my stand mixer, this is a Bosch, I put my dough hook in here. Some people will put their whisk things. I just start right off with my dough hook. And the recipe calls for 2 cups of rolled oats. It actually calls for quick oats, but I like the old-fashioned. It gives it just a little bit more texture. So we'll go ahead and do 2 cups of the rolled oats. You don't want to put your salt in your water and yeast mixture, because the salt kills the yeast. And so we'll go ahead and just put it actually calls for 3 teaspoons, which is 1 tablespoon. And I go a little bit scant, I just do. So we'll do a scant tablespoon of salt. We did our brown sugar. Now this recipe calls for soy flour, and we have this great store called Winco, and it has a great bulk food section. And so I get a lot of my different kinds of ingredients there. So that's where I get my soy flour, and this calls for a 1/2 cup of soy flour. Now, my mom, when I made this last time she was here, she said, "Oh, you put all that stuff in?" I don't, I just add flour. So obviously you can do it without. So there's my 1/2 cup of soy flour. And then another ingredient that might be a little bit odd is just gluten flour. Vital wheat gluten. I think dough pep is all the same thing. It's just, it adds a little bit more texture and, well, not texture, but strength to your bread. So let's go ahead and add, it's 1 cup of gluten flour, or vital wheat gluten, or dough pep. I believe they're all the same thing. And okay, so we've got our flour, our hot water is going with our sugar and yeast. Now I do 3 cups of white flour. 3 cups of white flour is about 1/3 of the total flour. 1, 2, 3, and then the rest I do whole wheat flour. But we're going to have to pause right here just a moment, because my battery on my camera is about to run out. So we'll just stop right here until we come back. Okay, so we're back. Just moved a few things around, cleaned up a few of the things I didn't need. Our yeast is continuing to grow here, and so what I was saying is the white flour is about 1/3 the amount of flour in the recipe, how I do it anyway, because I like more whole wheat than white. And so I'm going to go ahead and put about 6 or 7 cups of whole wheat in here to start. So there's 1, 2, and as you can see, I'm real precise in my measurements. 3, kind of shake it off to level. 4. Now I've got some more right here that I ground earlier, so we've got 5, 6. Now this is a big recipe. I would not tackle this recipe if I didn't have a machine to do it. I would probably half it or so. So what I'm going to do here real quick is just mix up the dry ingredients a little bit. Just kind of get them incorporated. Let me put my lid on so I don't get dust all over the place. I just kind of pulse the machine because it's all dry in there, so it's going to be real floury. Until they're all incorporated. Now, let me show you the yeast, and let me see if you can see what I'm talking about. See how it's foamy on top? You can see bubbles, and if you look from the side, I don't know if you can see, you can actually see just a little layer of like foam. That's how we know our yeast is working. So I'm going to go ahead, actually, just real quick so that we keep all of our wet ingredients together. I'm going to add my black strap molasses. This will give it color, and also it's a great source. In fact, it says significant source of iron, calcium, and potassium. So we'll just get a little bit of that in here. I'll do about a 1/4 cup of molasses. Okay. And then let me grab my oil real quick. I use olive oil just because of the benefit of olive oil. You certainly can use any oil, vegetable oil. And we're going to do about, let's see, what does it say? Better stop while I look. 1/2 cup of oil. So I'm going to fill this up to my 3/4 mark. I always go a little bit shy on my oil too. Okay, now let's put this into, just to keep all our liquids together, I'm just going to go ahead and add this to the water and yeast and sugar. I know, sugar's not a liquid, but okay, and because I don't have a spatula, that's going to have to be good for now. So we'll just kind of mix that in a little bit, get all that foam incorporated so it pours out nicely. And I'm going to go ahead and add that to my flour. So I just have to pour it kind of carefully, or it goes all the way down the side of the bowl. And my son just woke up from his nap, and I'm trying to ignore him just for a few minutes, so we're trying to hurry here. He shouldn't have woken up yet, but Daddy opened the gate